and welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where we cut loose and kick off our Sunday shoes to the 80s movies we think we love or might have missed. And this is Footloose, a movie selection from 1984, about which Google says... Moving in from Chicago, newcomer Ren McCormick, played by Kevin Bacon, is in shock when he discovers the small Midwestern town he now calls home has made dancing and rock music illegal. As he struggles to fit in, Ren faces an uphill battle to change things. With the help of his new friend, Willard Hewitt, played by Christopher Penn, and defiant teen Ariel Moore, played by Laurie Singer, he might loosen up this conservative town. But Ariel's influential father, Reverend Shaw Moore, played by John Lithgow, stands in the way. Footloose. Everybody cut. Everybody cut.
So this was my first time actually seeing the movie all the way
Me too.
All the way through that means that I've cut bits of it. I haven't,
Mm-hmm.
not at all. Like everyone knows the premise of Footloose, which you have just described. And that was really it.
Yeah, same for me. I'd never seen this movie except for I've seen the tractor chicken scene.
Yeah, I hadn't even seen that.
Wow.
Yeah, the only imagery I could ever conjure was when he's so frustrated, he's just got to dance, and he's dancing around the construction
He's like
site. Fight dancing, in the construction zone. Yeah,
yeah, which is a real secondhand embarrassment scene for me.
Right, exactly. So, had we seen it when we were younger, would this have been a formative movie?
I think so. I think it would have been similar to Dirty Dancing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even more so, because it would have been easier to relate to like kids in high school than like, adults at a summer camp.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's a good question. Let's maybe start off with some not necessarily hot takes, but where would you place it in the 80s dancing / kind of quasi musical movies? Where are you placing Footloose against Dirty Dancing?
I put it pretty high up there. I'd put it not necessarily alongside Dirty Dancing, but certainly just below it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed
you put it in the corner of Dirty Dancing.
Exactly. You can't put Baby in the corner, but you can put Footloose in the corner. What about you? Where do you think it lands in the dance movie pantheon?
I would say low. There's like dancing movies that are ridiculous, like Electric Boogaloo,
which I've also never seen.
Yeah, Breakin' 2, and I haven't either, but I've seen parts of it. I've seen like moments and scenes and things like that. And those, yes, they're quote bad, but they're also fun. They have a campiness to it, and I'm not saying that Footloose doesn't have a fun to it, but I would not rate it as high as some of the movies, and that's the thing. There's a big one that we're not talking about, and that's Flashdance, and I feel like Flashdance, like the Footloose, only exists because Flashdance was a huge hit the year prior.
Okay.
Because
I've also never seen Flashdance.
I also haven't, but I know how big it was, and a lot of these dancing movies are because of Flashdance.
Okay.
And it wasn't just that it was a big sleeper hit, but it was also kind of the beginning of the Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer formula. Which is starting the movie with a music montage, like a Kenny Loggins hit. So this is like think Top Gun, think like Cocktail, this kind of stuff. you know.
Right.
And so it started with Flashdance, and you could, and I think with the hate dancing scene in the construction, where he's just got to cut loose and be who he wants to be, like that has the DNA of Flashdance, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she's very blue collar, and she's just got to dance. No one will let her. Or I'm now inventing the story of Flashdance because
Yeah.
I don't entirely know. But again, but yeah, I feel like a lot of these dancing movies kind of owe their existence to the success of Flashdance a year like in
Hmm.
'83, and this is '84.
Yeah. So they were like, you know what people love? Fight
Mm-hmm.
dancing. We got to
Right.
have some more dancing. Let's get some teenagers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have them dancing for freedom and fundamental rights.
Yeah. And having said that, like there just weren't enough fun scenes of we just got to dance and no one will
Mhm.
let us, you know.
Mhm.
I'm glad that they portrayed, I mean, cuz this is a thing that happens in America. America has a lot of diverse beliefs, a lot of diverse cultures and towns and things like that, you know. The whole idea is that this town is basically religious. It's in Utah. You know, it's kind of in
Mhm.
the Provo area, that zone.
Wait,
Um,
I thought it was in the Midwest.
no, it's that is 100% Utah. um,
Oh, okay.
they may have said it's in the Midwest, but they shot the whole thing in. It's basically, yeah, it's Utah. Um,
Oh,
and
I the whole time was thinking this was like Iowa or something.
No, this is, yeah, up in the, you could see like the mountains. But yeah, they shot this where is it? Yeah, they did shoot some of it in Provo, which I had just been. That's why I was just there for the Film Quest Film Festival.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, there was another place where you saw
And did
like
they let you
the
dance while you
mill
were
on it.
there?
Yes, but it's interesting. There were certain restrictions in terms of like selling alcohol after 6 p.m. Like there were no
Mhm.
normal bars. We did find a dive bar, and they were kind of operating under a loophole, which is
Okay.
that you could be a member if you join the member club at the bar, you know,
Mhm.
and so then you could drink after 6, you know. Um,
Interesting.
Yeah, but so yeah, so some of that still exists, and or this kind of stuff exists in terms of what is the regulations for certain things. And
Mhm.
this and this movie is based off of a real thing where teenagers appealed to the town. You know, there was like a ban on dancing for like 50 years or something crazy like that. I'm sure someone
Mhm.
checking IMDb is yelling at me, but yeah, based off of a real story. Um, and yeah, for me, I just wish that there were. It's like there are some. This is first of all a fantastic soundtrack. There's some
Oh,
great,
the soundtrack is a
yeah,
banger.
yeah, and I would say there are when we've like there's a song like, you know, and I don't know if that this is the first time these songs played, you know, but there's like at
Mhm.
least two or
Mhm.
three classic, like I Need a Hero, um and I
Dancing for the boy.
yes, yeah, that one there. And I would say that this it may be the debut of these songs, but it was also probably like the weakest montage that these songs have ever been paired with, you know.
Oh,
Except, you know what,
oh.
honestly, Let's Hear It for the Boys was pretty good, but I think I Need a Hero
When
was way
the
down.
hick is learning to dance. I Need a
Yeah,
Hero was playing during
yeah,
the chicken scene.
Sean Penn's brother, Chris Penn, yeah.
Learning to dance.
That was kind of cute. That
It
was
was very cute. Sean
so.
Penn's brother, Chris
So
Penn, is very cute in this
I'll
movie.
retract my judgment on that one. But in
Okay.
terms of I Need a Hero, that was probably not in the top three of
You don't like
montages.
tractors?
I'm a big anti-tractor guy. I don't
Yeah.
know. No, it just was kind of like it was a dumb scene, you know. I'm
Well,
sorry.
that's how they established dominance in Utah.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Oh,
maybe I just need to listen and observe and learn.
of course, of course.
Mhm.
So, speaking of, we are 11 minutes in and haven't introduced ourselves yet.
It's one of those episodes.
It's one
Yeah.
of those. I'm Krissy Lenz, director of neighborhood comedy theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And our friend who doesn't understand tractor chicken is.
Nathan Blackwell, independent filmmaker based in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yay. Okay, back to Flashy Dancy. The movie starts with a sermon
Yes.
with
A real Bible thumping sermon.
a
So,
real our Lord is testing us.
yeah.
Why would he send us this horrible rock and roll music if he weren't testing us? Our Lord wants us to rise to these tests and not allow this rock music, which is it became, as the movie went on, really confusing what this reverend is really for and against, because he's firmly against burning books, which is good, but he's got no tolerance for music.
Right. Yeah. So I want to one of my favorite it's like one of the things I love about the Oscars is that everyone is trying really hard to pronounce everyone's name correctly. And so
Hmm.
I'm going to step in, and so because there's a couple of names that 98% of the people um pronounce wrong.
Okay.
And John Lithgow is one of them. So it's Lithgow, not Lithgow.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Let's go, go, go.
yes, so
Not let's
Lithgow.
gal like cow.
Yeah, and then Steve Buscemi is actually Steve Buscemi, even though he found out that some of his relatives pronounce it either way.
Hmm.
and then and then for film nerds, how do you say it's Martin Scorsese? Martin Scorsese? It's Martin Scorsese, apparently.
It's not Martin
So,
Scorsese.
yeah, it's Ceci at the end.
Ceci.
The S's are pronounced like S's. Anyways, it's it's my inner know-it-all, and then I'm sure there's a ton of people that I pronounce incorrectly,
Yeah.
and I feel appropriately shameful for it. But yes, John Lithgow. Going forward, it's John Lithgow.
Okay, I'll probably get it wrong at least 2 more times.
All right, engage.
Okay. So we meet him. He's like the fire and brimstone preacher. He's got a young blonde daughter who's like, "We're going out for ice cream, Daddy."
Mm-hmm.
As Daddy is like talking to Kevin Bacon and being like, "Well, welcome to our town. Have you met your teachers yet?" And she goes on to participate in the most reckless vehicular recreational activity that makes
Back
the
the
car
back to the
surfing
back.
in Teen Wolf
Oh
look
my god.
positively responsible.
There's a tier list to be done about reckless teenage, like, car related stunts that
Hmm.
probably got real people killed when they tried to
Yeah,
imitate them. Back to the Future is definitely up there,
with the
in
holding on to the back of the car.
especially with its influence. But yeah, this is probably the worst offender. Um,
She climbs out the window into the window of another car, but first she straddles both cars and just like sways in between two cars while a semi truck
mhm,
barrels towards them.
yeah.
She should be dead.
Our I'm gonna go on record and say for the '80s movies, there's always kind of like there's the main character and then there's the love interest that he's got to win over or
Mm-hmm.
she's got to win over. This is, I would say, the least likable love interest in any of the movies that we've ever done.
Ariel is not very likable. I agree.
No, yeah, and and she looks like Daryl Hannah, and I was delighted to find out that Daryl Hannah was offered the role and she turned it down, and so
Mm.
they had to clone her from a hair and get
Uh-huh. Lori Singer.
pseudo Daryl Hannah. Yeah, but and then to be fair, I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a ton of charm and charisma. I don't want to hurt her feelings if the actress is listening, but
Mm-hmm.
the yeah but a huge part of it is just the character. Like she is so rebellious that she's kind of an a-hole, you know.
She's definitely an a-hole, and there was no part of me that wanted her to be with Ren. I almost wanted Ren to be with Rusty, the Sarah Jessica Parker character,
100%.
more than to be with Ariel.
Because
Um
the performers had so much charisma, you know, even if Sarah Jessica Parker really didn't have much to do, she did a lot with it and she was charming.
mhm. But she ended up with the friend, the girlfriend of the friend, Willard.
Right. Yeah, Chris Penn.
Yeah, who's very cute and charming.
Yeah. He's first off as kind of like the hick and everyone that Kevin Bacon kind of when Kevin Bacon is not like a huge rebel, he's just basically sarcastic. He's like Ryan
Mhm.
Reynolds level
Yeah.
of. And so, like, people, you know, and then people just are unable to process it. He does not fit in. And honestly, it's not, we feel like he would be our sarcastic friend
Mhm.
and not like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're like a bull in a china shop. Like he's just pushing against the normal establishment like a teenager does. And everyone is like, no, you've got to fit, all pegs have to be square and they have to fit in here. And
Mhm.
so he is.
There's a nice moment at the beginning where they're talking about banning Slaughterhouse-Five, and he's like, "Oh, it's a great book," and they're like, "Not in this town," and he says, "In any town."
Mhm.
So you get the idea that he's like smart and well read,
Yeah,
and not just a music loving dum dum, but a real patron of the arts.
yeah, and he doesn't, he doesn't come, so he is not chaotic, you know.
Right.
He is not so rebellious. He's just, like a teenager from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Like a normal teenager from Chicago.
yeah, he's he's kind of well read. He's kind of sarcastic. He's kind of hard to put into a box. He doesn't want to be in a box, but yet he's still getting kind of a blue collar job and he's okay with it. So he is
Mm-hmm.
still kind of a surrogate for us. If he was more chaotic, kind of like Ariel,
Right.
I think we would say, well, you deserve what you get because it's obvious that this is a conservative, religious, formalized town. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of deserve this backlash that you're getting.
Right. And he gets a lot of backlash from everybody. Everybody is like, "You seem like a troublemaker, Ren." He gets kicked off the gymnastics team because he drops Ariel off at her house late after she gets beat up by her boyfriend. Um, which is not fair. Like, you shouldn't be able to get kicked off a high school sports team because you dropped the reverend's daughter off late. Like, that's the
Hmm.
one should have nothing to do with the other. Um, but everyone in the town thinks that he's a troublemaker, including his aunt and uncle, except for the guy who runs the mill, who's like, "I like sarcastic teens.
Hmm.
You could
Hmm.
throw flour around for me."
Yeah, and so whatever knocks I'm giving Footloose, like I felt like they got this part pretty right in terms of just like the pushback of a society set in its ways,
Mm-hmm.
and nowadays everything would be there wouldn't be, you wouldn't want to ruffle that many feathers nowadays, in terms of the difference between um a more restrictive conservative society, and essentially in some ways, they don't really go into any politics, but it is kind of like a liberal teen in a conservative town. It's really more religious and kind of like small town mentality and big town freedom, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Although I thought it was really smart of them to sort of show that Ren wasn't into like getting high and
yeah.
like smoking pot. Like they showed that Chuck is like, and his buddies are like the local pot dealers, and he is all getting high before
Mhm.
the chicken race.
Yeah, but he can
But
also smell a setup too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when Chuck, I keep calling him Chet. Chuck is the name of Ariel's boyfriend, who is the
The the brawny bad guy,
bully.
the bully.
The
Yeah.
bully offers him a free little taste, a free little taste, a little joint, and he immediately gets busted by a teacher and flushes it down the toilet. Um,
Yeah, like the
I thought that was clever because it
yeah.
was like, oh, he's not a bad boy.
Mhm.
He's just a regular boy who likes to dance, dance, dance.
Yeah, so I do feel like they balanced that really well.
I thought so too, and I thought he was way more likable than Ariel.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, you don't I think it's a tribute to Kevin Bacon that he has a lot of chemistry even with everyone, but with her too,
Hmm.
because she's not not very charismatic.
Yeah. So, speaking of casting stuff, they almost cast Tom Cruise, but he decided to do all the right moves instead.
Hmm.
And then they almost cast Rob Lowe.
That would have been interesting. Yeah, I think Kevin Bacon is perfect. You
I think
know.
so too, and I think
Yeah,
this movie cements Kevin Bacon into a lovable scamp.
yeah. I think John Lithgow is great. I think his wife Diane Wiest is always great. She's great in
Oh, she's so
everything.
cute.
Yeah, she is
And she
great
has such
in
a like
everything.
quiet desperation in
And
this movie where she like is the silently suffering wife of the preacher, but she's like
mhm.
always like standing over his shoulder like, "Oh, we used to look at each other and get excited. Like kids don't have sex just because they listen to music.
Yeah.
Um, you can't be everyone's father." And she's just like the guiding light of reason in
Mhm.
this world that he's created where dancing and music will make everyone have sex immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, like, and then Chris Penn and Sarah Jessica Parker, and then all the like the normal, like realistic townspeople, which were probably non-actors, are great. Yeah, it's just Ariel, the love interest. She is unlikable, and she didn't work for me. And and
Mhm.
and again, to be fair to the actress, I feel like she could have been okay if there were some writing differences, because she was so chaotic and so rebellious.
And she
Um,
had a legitimate death wish, like the amount of times that they play chicken in this movie.
yeah,
This is a movie that's largely about the dangers of playing chicken
she stands in front of a train,
for
until
no reason.
yeah.
And
I
that's the part where she's trying to seduce him at that point. Like she's decided she wants him and she's like, "I'm going to seduce you. We used to stand here when the trains went by and we'd make out like crazy." And then she goes and stands in front of it and like almost dies, which like she's got a legit death wish. And so like her whole backstory is that she's got a brother who died in a car accident because he was out drinking and partying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. But like, why does that give you a death wish to get smashed by an oncoming vehicle?
Yeah, and I'm into the idea that because of her brother dying, that she almost has this flirtation with death. But they always play it as a thrill rather than like a moment of serious, character, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because we as audiences are always observing what we're seeing, but we're trying to figure out what is the movie trying to say that this means, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when she is standing in front of the train track and yelling, "Woo!" there's a part of us that thinks, "Oh, this movie is telling us that this is cool."
Right.
And we are now stepping outside of what the character is doing, and we're acknowledging that the movie is saying, "Oh, this is supposed to be cool," and we're like, "This isn't cool."
It's
Ra-
not cool.
Rather than us saying, "Oh, this character has a flaw," so we're actually rejecting what the movie's saying to us rather than what the character is saying to us.
Right. And Ren does too. Like you never get the impression that Ren thinks it's cool that she's always playing chicken.
Right.
So Ren decides that he wants to have a dance. Like he just wants to have a dance. He wants to have a senior dance, a prom, and he's gonna, try and drum up support in the town through grassroots efforts, through phone calls and letter writing campaigns and flyers. He gets a lot of the kids on his side, and he has to go talk to the town council about it. The town council, who is meanwhile banning and burning books.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and gives a speech about how, and he uses the Bible. He like actually references the Bible, and says like dancing is a form of showing joy to the Lord and exercising and um showing your love of life and all of this stuff, and they don't buy it though. So no one in the town supports the teenagers and their quest for a senior dance, except for the guy who owns the mill,
Right.
who's like, on the other side of these tracks, you're in
Side
a
of
different
town.
town.
Mm-hmm.
I just so happen to have a barn right here that you can use for a dance.
I guess so this movie portrays the culture conflict really well,
Mm-hmm.
between the teenagers and the controlling adults. What I wish it did better, like Dirty Dancing, which is the joy of dancing. They
Right.
have it, but it's always kind of like mixed with, "Oh, let's party." You
Yeah.
know, I mean, they try. There's moments, but there's just not enough for me to actually feel like, yes, dancing. you
Yes.
know?
I agree with that. In Dirty Dancing, you really feel like she's moved by learning
There's no one that's
what the
opened
dance
up.
is.
Right. There's no one that's opened up by dance.
And it would be great if Ariel was. Like it would be great if she
Mm.
somehow like soothes
Yeah.
this like aching inside of her through dance. Like if she got a fight dancing scene and we
Hmm.
got to see her like exercise some of these demons
Let's
through
rewrite it.
dance.
Let's
Okay.
rewrite it. Let's say, and this is a small rewrite. So Ariel does have a death wish, and instead of
Mhm.
like at the beginning, it's a thrill. With the train, it's serious. She's not. We see that moment where she actually wants death,
Mhm.
and she's flirting with it. So she's dealing with the trauma of her brother's death.
Right.
And so the dancing between her and him is healing her.
Mhm.
So that's the thing.
Through
It's
him understanding the freedom of dance
Yeah. So this is one
is
of those
healing her.
this is already, I think it's one of those stories that's kind of like, let's say, Mary Poppins or Paddington. where it's not the main character that transforms. It's he shows up and transforms the people around them. He's like the outsider,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
like this better.
So that already is in there because I don't think he really learns too much, but the town is transforming. But if we had someone more specific, like Ariel, kind of open up herself, um, through dancing, but she's also overcoming her grief and how she's
Mhm.
processing death, then I felt like that would have been great.
I think so. I also think it would have been great if there had been a little moment where the Reverend danced with his wife, because when the dance happens, they go sort of sneak up on it to like
Mm-hmm.
sort of spy, but not in a judgmental way, more in like a celebratory way to go see the kids dancing and witness their joy. And they
Mm-hmm.
are standing in front of their truck watching the kids dance. I think it would have been nice if they had a moment to dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A slow dance, not a fight dance.
Right, exactly. Dance off. That's how this movie should have ended. Because that's the
With the
problem.
dance off?
It's like the movie, the last 10 minutes, they've kind of resolved everything, and
Mhm.
now let's just watch this funky dance. You
Yeah,
know,
that's how it goes. They throw the dance.
and
The
then suddenly,
reverend is like shows his support by saying, "Let's pray for them that they
uh-huh.
make good choices," which should have been what he was doing all along. Let's pray for our
Hmm.
kids that they make good choices and give them the tools that they need to, move to adulthood and make good choices as fully
They should have
developed
opened with that.
people. Um, they have a fight with Chuck. Uh,
Yeah.
they beat up
Oblig-
5 of his goons.
yeah, obligatory bully is the only conflict that we've got left in the movie.
Yeah, but it's like a dance fight. There's a lot of high kicks.
Yeah, so suddenly Kevin Bacon unleashes martial arts, and which we kind of buy into because he's a gymnast, or at least
Right.
his stuntmen are gymnasts.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, and when the dance starts going, then suddenly every extra that we've kind of been watching, we realize was a trained dancer.
Mhm.
So, they're doing this really complicated, like, show off dances, you know?
Yeah, for a town that's never danced before, they're all on the same page about choreo.
Yeah, I mean, you've got I won't even get into it, but like, they're not doing the kind of dancing where you dance with another partner. No, it's like where you showboat and one guy stands in the middle and does something nuts and
Then they're
crazy
they're
that's
also like
highly
line
gymnastic.
dancing.
Yeah. And so, boy, they had a lot of natural talent for people who've never danced.
Yeah, for people who have always been denied the joy of dancing.
Mm-hmm. Especially
That's
those
because
people.
they had to
Yeah.
pent it up for so long. It was just so ready to burst that it was immediately funneled. It was gifted from the gods.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It burst in front of everyone, and they were all happy.
Yep. There is a scene where there's a lot of naked butt boys, like naked boys with their butts out. There's
Mm-hmm.
buns in this movie for no
Mm-hmm.
reason. There's just a shower scene where we see like almost fully nude boys, complete naked buns, more than one. I just wanted to toss that out there
Mm-hmm. Good.
that
Noted.
there's a lot of naked boy buns in this movie. And there's consequences, to Ren trying to have this dance. They get a brick thrown through their window that says burn in hell. And his mom loses her job because her son is a troublemaker who's trying to have a dance. Like, oh, it almost gets dark, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of Footloose. Yeah, there's there is a nice scene where Ren goes to ask the Reverend if he can take Ariel to prom, and we come into the scene and Ren is saying, "Well, if you could explain to me about my father, I maybe could explain to you about your son." And it's like these people that they've lost,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was a really mature, nice moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so the director of this, Herbert Ross, also did Steel Magnolias.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I can see, I feel like, and this is just making broad assumptions, that he did give what was probably a cranked out movie, like We Gotta Make Our Flashdance, some
Mhm.
gravitas. But at the same time, there's just not enough fun scenes. Like maybe
Yeah.
he did a lot with what he was given. Maybe I'm giving the director too much credit, but I felt like there was gravity and drama. There was just not enough fun.
I will agree with you. And the fun that we do get is sort of like the tractor chicken.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun. That's
The,
supposed to be a lighthearted,
right.
scampering moment, but it feels too dangerous.
Yeah. And I feel like that, just, like we said before, like the purpose of dancing, the joy of dancing needed to be more in the forefront. It needed to be a stronger part of the story rather than,
I agree. Rather
yeah.
than all of the vehicular danger.
Yeah, just rebellion. They should have had like a Dumbledore's army, but for dancing. They should have had a secret
Yes.
dancing club.
Yes. So this movie was remade in 2011. Do you think they took any of our advice and made it better?
That's fascinating. Okay, let's go watch it. And we're back. We've
And we're
just watched
back.
no.
No, we did
Uh,
not. And we didn't and we shan't. We
uh,
can't and we won't.
okay. What is Look, it's a podcast. It's not a radio show. We're just gonna take the shortcut. All right,
Yeah.
Flashdance.
Um we
Yeah,
should
check.
do Flashdance.
Yeah, we should do Flashdance. Now, here's the thing. It's a more significant movie. The reviews are much worse for Flashdance.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Just
Hmm.
just at the very general, percentages of Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb.
Right.
Um
Okay. So, speaking of reviews, on a scale of 1 chicken with a train,
on how many tractors?
how many tractors on a scale of 1 tractor to 10 tractors do you give Footloose? I have a
Mhm.
feeling like your score is going to be pretty low. I feel
Yes.
you didn't love Footloose.
So there's nice moments. I feel like I've
There
been
are a lot of nice
complimentary to a
moments.
lot of, yeah. But and I so you know any rating is highly subjective. It's more about how much I enjoyed it rather than do I think it's a good movie or do I think the people who like these kind of movies will enjoy it,
Okay.
I think I'm going to give it a 5 out of on the
Oh,
enjoyment scale.
okay.
Maybe I would rate it a little lower, but I feel like the movies that get into the 3, 4, like the 4 or 3 or something like that, it's almost kind of like you hated it, you know?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
didn't hate Footloose. I just wish it was more the
Joyful.
yeah, the test of like a 5 or a 6 movie, like a very middle of the road movie is that you pause it and you say, "Oh my god, it's only halfway over. There's an hour left."
That's what
That's
I did.
Yeah. So I feel like
Um,
that's a 5 or 6 kind of movie.
yeah, and like one of the barometers I like to use is whenever I can con Rocket into watching one of these movies with me. He's
Mhm.
13.
Mhm.
He watched Footloose with me and he didn't wander away. Well, he did wander away, but he came back. And he did say this movie's kind of boring.
Yeah,
But he watched it all the way through to the end.
yeah. The truth is that Kevin Bacon is very likable and very charismatic, and you like everything that he does, you
Yeah,
know?
it's true.
And John Lithgow is also great, you know?
And Diane Wiest as his wife is the you want to
Yes.
hate them, but you can't because you can see that this man has a deeply troubled soul.
Hmm. So yeah, coming.
And they
This is
rescue him from being a total bigot by showing that he's not for burning books.
yes, yes. And so if you're dipping in and out, um, doing the dishes, coming in and out, doing chores, and you're watching like little sections of it, it's like, yeah, that was pretty good. But
Yeah.
if you have to sit down and watch the full like 147 minutes, or
It's
no,
too
no,
many minutes.
it's an hour 47, hour 47, yeah.
Which is like
Um,
normally I'd say that's the perfect amount of time for a movie.
mhm,
But this felt long.
yeah, and so that's where my 5 comes from.
Okay. I'm gonna go higher than you. I'm gonna give it 6.5 tractors
Okay.
because I think it's almost like I think the perfect 7 movie is Mannequin,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's not as fun as Mannequin.
No,
It's
it's not.
maybe a better movie than Mannequin,
Right.
but it's not as fun as Mannequin.
Right. And that's really what our ratings is. It's the fun scale.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you look, you're not going back and watching these movies out of any sense of obligation
Yeah.
to educate yourself on the art of film.
Right. It's like a 5 or 6 have things that are enjoyable but are a little boring or
Right.
don't
And
hold
it
up.
was a little boring.
Yeah. And
And a little dark.
mhm.
There's
Which
there's a domestic violence in this
yeah.
movie.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was okay with the darkness. It's just when it felt broad, like when it was a broad character, like I'm a bully, like the
I'm a bully
stepdad was kind of like that
who didn't
too.
seem that threatening until he like beat her up and it's like, "Oh, you're a wife beater.
Hmm. But
You're
she
a
also
woman
she
beater."
also punched him first, and then oh yeah, it's like the bully, like she punched the bully, and then the bully punched her back, and then it got into a really nasty fight. But yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
What about a deep cut recommendation? What did you latch on to recommend?
Uh, I came up with my deep cut recommendation the moment I flicked off the movie,
Okay.
um, which I just wasn't feeling it at the moment, and so I said my recommendation is Roadhouse because
Okay.
it may not have anything to do with Footloose, but it's a better use of your time.
It's true. And it's you know what? I think they're very similar
Uh-huh.
movies. They have a very similar
They
mood.
they do have the culture clash of
Yeah.
the big city and the small town, and
Mhm.
Roadhouse is a violent. He is dancing his way through with karate,
Right.
teaching them the value of karate. Yeah, so there is similarities, and I think that's why it came to mind. But even if you've already seen Roadhouse and you're thinking of seeing Footloose, maybe just see Roadhouse again.
Yeah, I there's never a bad reason to see Roadhouse again.
No. What's yours?
So I went a little bit more literal. I want to recommend, and I don't know if you saw it,
Hand
the
loose.
hand loose. Yes, exactly. You gotta cut loose, hand loose. Um, that reminds me of. Did you ever see? This is a total sidetrack, but do you watch Bob's Burgers?
No.
There's an episode where the kids are doing this like sort of burlesque dancing with their hands, where they like make the like two middle fingers like legs, and then the other two fingers are like arms, and they call it handy prancing. So they learn the art of dance with their hands. So that would be hand loose is Bob's
Mhm.
Burgers handy prancing. Now I wanted to recommend the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Good one.
Did you
Yeah.
see it?
Mhm.
Where they kidnap Kevin Bacon and take him to nowhere to give Chris Pratt a proper holiday. That's my deep cut recommendation.
Nice. I
The
dig it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Okay, so that was a fairly straightforward episode here on Footloose. We didn't love it, but we didn't hate it.
Right. Exactly.
It didn't make us feel like learning to dance.
Yeah. If you disagree with us, then put it in the comments and let us know. We might look at it.
Where can people find you and support you in your independent filmmaking endeavors?
Well, if they want to support me after this episode, check out squishystudios.com. That's that's the easiest route. I mean, Squishy Studios and our movie, the last movie ever made, is on Facebook and Instagram and those things. And so if you want to check out what the heck is this dude actually do,
It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's silly, it's genre comedy, but we're trying. And so yeah, Squishy Studios is the best avenue for that.
Okay. And you can find me at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, doing improv comedy every Friday and Saturday. We do a mix of long form comedy and short form comedy, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? We have all kinds of fun for you. So if you're ever in the downtown Mesa area, check us out or check us out online at nctphoenix.com. And for neighborhood, C for comedy, T for theater, and Phoenix all spelled out.com. And hey, if you're here with us at the end of the episode and you want just a little bit more Nathan and Krissy chit-chatting, join. It's one of many reasons to join the podcast membership on True Story FM, because not only do you get a little bit of extra content each week with Nathan and Krissy having a little chat about something either related or completely totally unrelated to the content of the episode, just some more time with Nathan and Krissy. You also get each episode a week early, which is cool. You also get the Discord server. So if you did have something to say about Footloose that we missed, you could put it in the Discord server. You can also read and comment and chat about all the other True Story FM shows on the Discord server. So you get a lot for a little, and you get to show your support for the most excellent 80s movies podcast. So think about that, think it over. And if you want something a little less expensive, but just as supportive, hit us with a like, a rating, a review, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All of that stuff helps the podcast. We appreciate you so much. And, when you're out there in the world, please keep the most excellent 80s movies podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.